Welcome to Gamer Table's Lost Tower of Xirus. Conan adventures in an age undreamed of. First look at Fantasy Grounds rule set for Conan, created by Nerd Eye Industries. My name is Eric, and I am going to be the game master for this session. And we're going to do a contained story. It's not going to be an ongoing stream, so we are looking at probably around 5 episodes, depending on how the players pace this out. It's going to be player paced for the most part. Before we do the player character introductions, though, I do want to make a little bit of a disclaimer. As a group, we are relatively new to Fantasy Grounds, and some of the players, this is their first game of Conan. So please think of this as a beginner's game, meaning that there will be some teaching of the system as well as the interface throughout this production. And as we speak, the Conan rule set for Fantasy Grounds should be available in the store as of today. So if you like what you see, please go to Fantasy Grounds and pick up the rule set there, and it's super easy to play. So we will get started with the player character introductions, and we will start with Varg.
You're muted.
The pressure of going first. Tested and proven. Well, hello all. My name is Bianca Zelda. I'm going to be playing Varg today. Varg is a masculine, young mid-20s barbarian where he hails from Asgard. Varg spends a lot of their free time herding all of his sheep. He could list every single sheep's name for whoever is interested in listening. But primarily he spends his free time lifting sheep up to get stronger, hurling them into bales of hay, and generally just hanging out with his hedgehog Carrot until, some life-changing events had happened.
All right. And next we have Adama.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Wilson, and I'm going to be playing Adama, who is a Corinthian noble warrior who may have had a slightly checkered past and got into a bit of trouble, is no longer in Corinthia, and is forging out on their own as a mercenary to prove themselves to back to their family, essentially, and that's her story. So,
All right, and next we have Cornelia.
Hi, my name is Morgan. You can find me normally on the Taking Initiative podcast, and I'm going to be playing Cornelia, and Cornelia is 17 years old, and this is her first adventure. Her parents, unfortunately, they died a couple years ago, but they were looking for something really important. And it's Cornelia's job to honor her parents and to find what they were looking for, which is the lost city of Atlantis or anything related to Atlantean culture, because that could be one of the most important cultural things that we find of our age. So she's going to find it and honor her parents. Everything's going to be great.
All right, and lastly, we have Kett.
Hello, everybody. Michael playing the character of Kett tonight. Kett is a barbarian who has found himself growing up in the ranks of private militaries and mercenary groups. Kett is likely the oldest member of the group at a ripe old age of 31, and he is a veteran of many fights, quiet, and certainly doing his best to look out for this young cadre of warriors, and a scholar.
Yes. Not a warrior.
yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we begin in Khorajan. Khorajan is a very small country on the eastern edge of what is called the Western Kingdoms. In historical terms, it would be much like Constantinople is where east meets west. It is also known as a mercenaries' paradise, and the reason it is called that is its history is riddled with tales of sellswords carving a bloody kingdom out of the neighboring lands. So they have a soft spot for mercenaries because their ancestors were mercenaries who took over this city and decided, you know what, let's fix this place up. So right now, we are going to start in the city of Khorajan and in the barracks of the largest free company. And we find Varg, Adama, and Kett standing before their general, Amalric. And Amalric is a legendary warrior. He's been through many battles with his free company, but also in the defense of Khorajan in the past. So, and he's standing in his ready room just outside of like the main meeting room for everybody. And he has called the three of you in, and as he's standing there, he's leaning on the table and he's just kind of watching as the three of you come in, and he motions for the chairs before him. And as you start to take your seat, he just kind of turns around and he's looking out the window, and then kind of turns back around and he says, I have a task for the three of you. As a matter of fact, you three have been requested by name.
Someone requested Varg?
As strange as that sounds, yes. Varg.
Huh. This is news. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Is that it?
Our reputations precede us.
I've never had one. Reputations seem nice.
They pay well.
Ah, yes. Sorry, General. You are of great esteem. Please continue.
All right, he's just dead-faced. Like waiting for you guys to, it's like waiting for the knuckleheads to stop. And then he rubs his hand through his blonde mane and just kind of shakes it for a minute. And he says, I don't know what the three of you've done to capture the eye of a prominent noble family here in Khorajan. As a matter of fact, if they would have said, hey, give me three of your biggest screw-ups, I probably would have pointed you out. But because they said they were asking directly for you. So this is what you're going to be doing.
Varg will turn to Adama. Varg has only messed up like 4 times. It's not so bad.
Muted.
You are muted. I love the face.
My turn. I have lots of practice at messing up.
What? Varg has never seen you mess up.
I am good at hiding it.
Ah,
It's not whether you mess up, it's whether you get caught.
oh, I am always caught.
I counted 4 times today.
You're the only one keeping count. I will remember this, though.
So the money mission, there was mission and there was money. General,
Amalric. I've only been your commanding officer for what? 4 months now? Varg. Do you need me to say it in Nordheimer?
Almurak.
He shakes
That's
his
it,
head.
right?
He shakes his head.
Okay, good.
Snow for brains.
Varg, it is not my native tongue either. I understand.
We understand.
All right. So, does besides Kett, do any of you know the Lady Fauza? Fauza, sorry, the Lady Fauza.
I can't say. Varg can't say name, so no.
She's the wife of Aram, the agricultural trade advisor for Queen Regent Yasmela.
Oh,
Varg hopes somebody is taking notes, because that's a lot.
Yasmela.
So you've attracted the attention of the wife of one of Her Majesty's top advisors. How you've done this, I have no clue. So be on your best behavior and make your way to their villa as soon as you can. No dawdling, no stopping at the alehouse, or anything crazy like that. Understood?
What if it is an alehouse that is not listed as an official alehouse?
You're asking if it's okay to go to a speakeasy. No, you may not do that either.
Okay, thank you.
Kett will stand at attention and say, "Yes, sir. Come on, come on."
As we're walking out, Adama kind of leans over and says, I actually know Letizia. So this might be my fault. Sorry? You're welcome. I don't know which.
Kett, the commander, as you're getting ready to walk out, and Adama says that, Amalric says, "Kett, a moment." The rest of
Get in trouble.
he points to the rest of you. The both of you can continue to fuck off. Kett,
Goodbye.
No. Bye.
We should wait for cats.
Wait for
Cat
me
always
outside.
has. Yes.
Wait for me outside.
Thank you.
It
We will.
involve ale.
no ale.
That was my suggestion. Shit. What else can Varg do but drink?
All right. So
You gotta love a good like chief dressing down the officers scene, right?
put you in your place. So, as the two of them leave, Kett, he says, "Close the door."
Kett will pull the curtain.
Yeah, it serves good enough. He looks at you and he says, "You know who that is, don't you?" Faza.
Yes, I'm aware. I know.
There's more. Faza's grandson, named Kai, has been in Khorajan for some time now and has been asking a lot of pointed questions about the death of Naima.
I suppose she's never told him.
I don't know what the Lady Fazo tells her grandson. I have no clue. But,
Well, he's asking questions. It's safe to assume he doesn't know.
well, what I do know is that, like Faza herself and her husband, he is Turanian and of some social standing. So you need to keep those two nitwits under control. He's an agent of some Turanian prince. So,
Sir, if I might, they're not nitwits, they're just young.
all young are nitwits. I was a nitwit when I was young. So yes, I agree. That's why I'm glad that she asked for you. I have no idea what this job entails, but she's paid for an extended duty from you. You will be paid by her directly.
But her contract is with the company.
Correct. So, my orders for you is to do as the lady says, but I have a feeling that this Turanian nobleman is up to no good. So, watch yourself. And if you can, find out what he does know.
And Kett will put like one fist up to his left shoulder and like give a slight bow.
Don't give me one of your Stygian salutes.
Kett backs like takes two steps back and then just turns and heads for the door.
You hear him kind of chuckling. as you are the elder, elder sergeant of the unit, he finds it any way he can to bust your balls. So, but he's also a fierce drinker, and his revelry with you. So it's more of just a friendly ribbing. It's not, he doesn't really, he doesn't hate you, obviously. He actually trusts you a lot. It's just
obviously.
Yeah,
So
obviously.
obviously. Lack of
Kett doesn't really care, like how as long as they're being paid and he treats the company well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like
Kett has certainly worked for enough bosses in his day,
right,
that he knows the deal.
Yeah. All right. So we will cut to the villa of Aram. And Aram is, like I said, is a agricultural trade advisor to the Queen Regent. So a very nice home. And in one of the main sitting rooms is Faza, who is an older Turanian lady. And as she's sitting there, she's looking directly at her granddaughter. And she tilts her head sideways a little bit, Cornelia, and she kind of squints her eyes as you're doing what you're doing, whatever you're doing, and says, "What is that you are wearing, child?"
Oh, so this is a dress. You see that she's very round cheeked. She has like light brown skin. She's got freckles. She has very wide, big, like Disney princess brown eyes. And she has a very large nose that doesn't look like her face is grown enough to kind of fit yet. Like you can tell that she is still like, she's not like a 17-year-old in a teen movie 17, in which she's actually 25. She's actually 17, which means she looks really kind of awkward. Her face hasn't finished growing. And she's wearing a yellow dress that looks like it might have been picked up off the floor this morning when she got dressed. And it does have a whole bunch of ink stains on it. And at this moment, she's realizing that those ink stains are maybe not as hidden as she thought they were, and is just kind of trying to hide her arm cuffs a little bit now.
Yes, and you know that your grandma, when she's talking about what you're wearing, it's not only is the fact that it looks like you've, spilled stuff on it, but also it is, she is very, very conservative in how she dresses. She dresses in a very traditional Turanian style, which is very covered up. Skin showing is considered, for a proper, person of noble breeding, is kind of faux pas, especially at older and younger ages. Now, obviously, Cornelia would be considered, of age, so, dressing however you will. Plus, you're living in a very cosmopolitan area. So people walking about, and even coming into the home, they're dressed, not necessarily provocatively, but certainly more casually, or at least free flowing and things like that. But Faza does not like that. She doesn't, and she certainly does not like that for you. So she's watching you very closely about how you're dressed, and then she notices you looking at the ink spots, and you see her lips kind of purse a little bit as there is a knock at the door.
I'll get it.
All right, she sets her she has like a small like brandy glass, and she just kind of sets it down and straightens herself up as if she's preparing herself to be seen by someone other than family. And when you open the door, your cousin Kai is standing there.
Oh.
And
hey.
Kai is a few years older than you. So, early 20s. He is immaculately dressed in like a doublet with a frilly shirt underneath, in the height of Khorajan fashion at the moment. And he always leaves his shirt slightly unbuttoned at the top, just so he can kind of show off a little bit of skin. He has
out. Love it.
Yeah, he has an immaculate skin. I mean, he is just like as he walks. Yeah, he's probably the prettiest person you've seen. Just in general, and he looks at you and he says, "Oh, cousin, what are you wearing?"
So I was just telling Jada, this is a dress, and it's yellow, and it's comfortable, and I think that's all there is to it. It's got pockets, and she will shove her hands into her dress's pockets and do that thing where she like pulls them out a little bit and gives them a little, and like demonstrates. I can keep my pens in here, and oh, that's a biscuit, and I can keep things in here for storage.
All right, and when you look up, you realize that you were prattling on, and he had actually slipped past you without you even noticing, and was just he just like stopped listing probably 2 minutes ago. So
that's okay. Jada's in the parlor.
All right, he kind of turns his head sideways and looks back at you, and he says, "And your shoes," and just turns
are functional and very comfortable, unlike yours, which are ugly. But she says that very quietly under her breath. She will not actually let him hear her calling his shoes ugly.
So just for some reference, Kai has only been in town for maybe a week or so, and really hasn't had much to do with Cornelia, and mostly has sat and talked to your grandmother. Now, your grandmother's name is Faza, but you call her what?
Jada, which I believe is Arabic for grandma or
Jada.
grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm pronouncing it wrong, please let me know, people in the audience or people who listen to this. But I'm pretty sure it's Jada.
Jada. Okay. So as Kai walks into the parlor, leaving you, a few steps behind him, he opens the door and he says, "Jada," and he lets it like linger as he speaks it. And your grandmother looks at him and says, "Oh dear, please come in. Oh, it is so good to see you." She gets up, she like starts, she embraces him, and it lingers for way longer than she ever like hugs Cornelia. And then
she's gonna sullenly eat her biscuit.
So she doesn't even pay attention to the fact that you came back into the room or anything, and she just kind of touches his shoulder and says, "Please, would you like a drink? Or something to eat? You look so thin." And he just looks at his nails and he says, "Thin is in, grandmother. Thin is in."
In my notes, Kai
I hate him
is
so much.
an asshole. Okay.
So he actually, I'm gonna switch my headphones here.
See?
Quick, while he's not on, we can talk while we.
I can hear you through the.
Make friends.
Damn it! That was our one chance.
One chance and you messed it up.
Scheming. We would never do such a thing.
There we go.
Aw.
Okay.
That's what the private Discord is for.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so anyway. Mm-hmm. So yes, he is. He says, "Oh, Jada, it's good to see you again. I have some news. I believe that I am closing in on the man named Cenobus." And she says, "Oh, good."
I love when you say a name and we all like bend our heads down just for a second to write.
Very important. I will forget otherwise.
All right.
Listen, a lot of names have happened.
I'll tell you what, we're going to switch over to the Fantasy Grounds page. So everyone,
Ooh,
because I want,
fancy.
I'm going to see Cornelia make a roll on lore.
Oh, good. So excited.
Word I just wrote down.
I believe her target number is 19 for lore.
18. It's very high. She's a very smart, very weak baby. Okay.
Love the stat dump.
So I got 2 successes and I generated momentum.
Oh, good. So for this stream, we're going to kind of walk through some things. So whenever a player character generates momentum, I want them to double click the momentum tag or the momentum chit down at the bottom there.
Oh.
The green one.
The green
So I
one.
double click on it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Aha.
There you go. And now the entire party has 1 point of momentum. Now in combat, that would actually, it actually diminish per round. But in non-combat situations, I am going to keep it at, keep the pool up. Now that may not be absolute canon for the game, but I prefer to do it that way to promote use of momentum in non-combat situations. So yes, he mentions the name Cenobus, and immediately, I mean, obviously, Cornelia knows everything about everything, so she immediately knows the name of Cenobus as a Stygian, to whom your parents were affiliated in at one time, but became very bitter rivals.
Huh. Cenobus. What do you need Cenobus for?
All right, your grandmother just kind of looks at him for a moment as if a little bit annoyed that you had overheard that, and then he just turns around and looks at you and says, "It is our belief, dear cousin, that Cenobus may know more about your parents' death than he initially led us to believe. And our dear Zada here has tasked me with locating him."
I thought my parents were killed by raiders.
Ah, yes. The story that the other Stygian told.
Yeah, but
What was his name? Kett?
Kett.
Yes.
Kett wouldn't lie to us, though.
Sure. Of course not. Because Stygians don't lie. They only
Well-
worship snakes.
Wow, that's super rude. Actually, because there are a lot of cultures that worship all sorts of kinds of animals, and just because our culture is different doesn't mean that it makes their culture bad.
Get him.
That's like a really big presumptive thing to say, Kai.
He throughout all of this, he looked at you for a moment, and then once you started to really kind of go at him, he just kind of turned and stopped looking at you.
So basically, Cornelia just argued with her cousin on Facebook.
Yeah. Cornelia's taken 2 gender women's studies courses and then has gone home and had to talk to her high school friends and is like,
Right.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. So,
you can tell that like her face is like increasingly red now, and she's got that like kind of like
Yeah.
she's conscious of her Jada and that she shouldn't like take one of her books and throw it at this guy, but barely.
so as he turns back to her, he says to your to your grandmother, I was told that the last place he was some rat's den at the edge of the city named Kal Shazma.
Question. Did Cornelia ever meet Cenobus when she was little and they were still friends?
That's a good question. Yes, I would say that, as much as you can remember, the only time that you ever really interacted with him, he brought you a little, like, wooden carving and presented it to you as a gift. So really, that's the only memory of Cenobus that you have. He was very tall, but to like a 6-year-old, everybody's really tall. But he brought you a small carved wooden horse that was highly polished and very finely crafted.
Okay. And is it like one of those things where my parents would never tell me why they became rivals? That it was more like, why don't we talk to Uncle Cenobus anymore?
Right.
And they were like, oh, reasons, things.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. So, Kai, I'm over here, by the way. You turned around.
Yes.
Do you think that Cenobus was involved in what happened to my parents?
It's possible.
Why would he do such a thing?
Well, if your parents and the Stygian were not on very good terms, mostly because it seemed that they were interested in a lot of the same things, but where your parents were interested in gathering them for the Queen Regent's museum and things like that, Cenobus is looking much more for them for personal gain.
Oh, yeah. Knowledge should be shared.
Indeed.
Things belong in museums.
Yes.
But I don't feel like that would be any reason for... I mean, he was nice to us once. I don't see why I don't see how he could have wanted to kill my parents over that.
Well, see, I believe, and grandmother here believes, that you are wrong.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Righteous, Jada Righteous, she kind of pokes her head over to look very accusingly at her grandmother who has been keeping information from her. Jada Righteous.
She looks at you. And
what information, what evidence do you guys have that might lead to such a hypothesis that Cenobus is involved?
She just looks at you for a moment, and then there's a knock at the door again. And she looks at you, and she's very when she's slightly annoyed and things like that.
Cornelia is very experienced with.
Yeah, I mean, to the outside person, her facial expression never changes. But to you, the one eyebrow that moves a little to the side, you know all those little facial tics that she has. Mm-hmm. And she went from mildly amused at the interaction between yourself and Kai to, as soon as you directed it towards her, there was a knock at the door, and she says, "Oh, my dear, it seems it won't be your problem much anymore, because obviously you are leaving."
I'm leaving?
Of course. Didn't you say that you wanted to go and visit your Uncle Nico?
In Argos? Yeah. Yes. I am going to Argos to see my uncle. And
Kai goes and answers the door, and there are 3 mercenaries standing at the door. And so the door opens to the 3 of you, and you see this very prim and proper, very just put together young man, and his eyes kind of look at the The three of you lingers a little bit on Varg, and then steps aside and says, "Please, come in."
Just to be a dick, I'm going to greet Kett in Stygian, that I hope Kai doesn't understand, and I'm going to say in Stygian, "Hello, Kett. Nice to see you."
And in Stygian, Kett will reply, "Hello, child. You are safe."
Yes. As of right now, we are going to go to Argos to see my uncle.
So, just one point of to kind of show off the interface. If you want to chat amongst each other in languages that you're not sure that other people will get, if you look at the chat box there on the screen, there is a drop down, and as at those of you watching the show here, I actually have it so you can see what the game master is doing as opposed to having your own seeing like what the players do, for the most part, just so you can kind of see all the bells and whistles. So if you click the down the drop box right there where above where it says chat, it will show you the languages that you speak. And there you go. So Varg just said something in Nordheimer, and no one else, and it says underneath, see, there you go. So Adama says something in Shemitish, understood by Adama, Cornelia, and Kett. So
cool.
yeah, so you can type out whatever you want in whatever language you speak, and those who speak it will be able to read it. Those who do not will see the different text. So
Yeah.
there you
Pretty
go.
neat.
And then Kett will respond briefly in Stygian, who's the fancy dressed lad?
This is my cousin. We're very glad to be leaving him very shortly.
He looks useless.
He is. Okay, so, if I'm going now, really thought I'd have a little bit more heads up. I gotta go pack, so, stay here, and I'm gonna point, and, it's really nice to meet you. I'm Cornelia, and I'm gonna say that to Varg and Adama. I need to get some things, and I will be right back. And she is going to, turn out of the foyer and run, and then she's gonna come back and then go back into where her grandmother was and grab a couple of books, and then with the books go back to her bedroom.
Love it.
So the three of you are now in the room waiting for Cornelia to return.
This is not awkward at all.
Right.
Varg likes your shoes, the gentleman. Yes, Varg says your shoes are nice.
He's just kind of looking at Varg, almost like trying to figure out if you're messing with him or not, and then says, "Well, thank you. I like your whatever that is."
It was a fox. It was a white fox. Varg had to hunt the fox for weeks and weeks. Varg ate only snow and twigs. Varg
Interesting.
remembers it as great adventure, but this is the true memory that Varg has come out with. It's nice and warm. Would you like to? Would nice shoe man like to feel the fur?
You see, his hand kind of raises just a little bit, as if he's thinking about it. But then he kind of looks over as his grandmother goes, and then his hand retreats. And he says, "It looks very nice."
It is.
And
Even
then
when he's being polite, he's really fucking disturbing.
And then his eyes kind of cut towards Kett, and he just says, "Kett."
Yes.
Perhaps you don't remember me, but we have met once before.
I have met many. I do not recall you.
Shame.
You weren't memorable, son.
Lady Fausa, you look well.
She nods and points towards a decanter of dark, like amber wine. She says, "Please have some." And then she looks at the rest of you. "All of you, please indulge. We have much to speak of."
Varg, Adama, this is the Lady Fausa.
Varg welcomes you.
Yeah, she's of indeterminate age. I mean, she's obviously, she's mature, but she looks very, she has like one of those classic looks where she could be 40, she could be 60. You just don't really know. Her dark hair is pulled back like into a severe bun. And you can see that she's wearing a loose robe with a hood that would normally go up when she goes out in public. But because she's at her home, she has it down. She has a very fine gold and diamond like mesh that's got like headband that's on her. That's completely just like the scintillating as the light from the outside is catching it. Must be worth a fortune. So, as she's looking at you, and she looks at Kai for a moment, and Kai steps forward, and he says, he motions towards the door, and he says, "That was my cousin." And he kind of sneers for a moment when he says that. "Cornelia. And it is your charge to make sure that she stays safe. We have arranged with your captain." He kind of shrugs as if he doesn't understand military rank. He just goes, "Captain, that
General.
Oh,
General.
Forgive me. General, that you will be temporarily assigned to House Aram for the duration of this trip that Cornelia is going to take."
And where will we be taking her?
And Lady Fausa sits up and she says, "She has it in her head that she wishes to..." And she kind of sits there for a second. She says, "My granddaughter is very headstrong. Well, I believe she gets that from her father. And despite my misgivings, I cannot seem to dissuade her from an ill-advised visit to Argos to visit her reprobate uncle, Nikos. She is of age and can make her own decisions, of course, but Cornelia is not very world-wise, if you know what I mean. And sending her all the way to Argos unaccompanied would be out of the question." And then she kind of looks over at Kai for a moment and looks back at you and says, "We have reason to believe that she is in danger. And that there are those within the shadows of Khorajan and Shem, and perhaps even," she shrugs, "Ophir, that wish my granddaughter harm. You see, her parents, my daughter and her husband, were renowned scholars and researchers for the crown. And some of the things that they were researching there," and she looks kind of pointedly at Kett, "from which they did not return, were looking into artifacts of the past. I don't pretend to know half of the things that they were always digging into mud for something. And whatever they were looking for ultimately brought about their doom."
Varg is confused. They died for information.
Treasure, my dear Northrun. They were looking for treasure, and those who did not want them to obtain it, or those who wished to obtain it for themselves, we believe, made sure that they did not come back.
While this story is being told, Kett has downed 2 goblets of that wine.
What?
Okay.
Varg is on first goblets, for sure.
I think Kett's working on his 3rd.
A brief cut of like, we think my granddaughter is in danger. Like Cornelia is trying to Tetris books and scrolls into a backpack kind of sack. And like as soon as it's my daughter's or my granddaughter's in danger, she gives herself a wicked paper cut and it's just like,
All right. Now that you mentioned that, you do this paper cut and you drop the book that you were carrying.
Yeah.
Or that you were putting in there. And it was one of your father's journals. And it pops open.
Like
and
not to bleed on it.
Yeah. A couple drops of blood on it. And as you're picking it up, let's have Cornelia make an observation check.
Okay. Observation check.
And for those watching, I'm going to actually open up Cornelia's character sheet so we can see what I
succeeded.
Nice. All right, so Cornelia, your observation, you needed an 11. You rolled an 11 and a 19, so 1 success. All right, so as it pops open, it's one of your father's journals, and it's one of the near the last page, because you'd stuffed something in there to like bookmark it or whatever. And as it pops open, you're like, pick it up, reach over, pick it up. And scribbled on there in the margins, you see that your father had written the words Kal Shazma. And then right behind that, it said Orchid.
Orchid. Like the flower?
Like the flower.
Like the flower. Okay. And Kai just said that Cenobus was in Kal Shazma. Is it like a place?
You have no clue.
I have no clue. Kal Shazma. Very interesting coincidence. Very good to know. Okay, so I'm going to rebookmark that, and I'm going to put it at the top of my Tetris pile in my bag, and then I'm going to fasten that, and I'm going to put that on my actual bag, and then I've got another bag and case full of clothes and utensils and other things I need, and I'm going to try to pick that up and put it back down and instead do the drag. And I'm going to like backwards, kind of awkwardly pulling it. I'm going to bring it back out to the foyer where everybody else is.
Okay. So just right before Cornelia comes back, so then Kai says that he's looking at the rest of you, and he says, "It is imperative that my cousin not fall into the hands of those who seek her harm. Once you have vacated the city, then I will do what I can to try and weed out." And just as he's saying this, Cornelia, you can hear him. He says, "Once she is out of the city, then I will be able to weed out whoever is behind this plot and take care of it."
Privately, Cornelia is like, who died and made him the fucking chief of police, Detective Sherlock Holmes in this town? But privately, weed out whoever is doing this plot, Agatha fucking Christie.
All right. So, and then he must have heard, not that you're saying these things out loud or whatever, but maybe, it's almost as if he can sense that you're close, because then he just stops and just kind of waits for a moment. And then,
he can hear the dragging of my bag against the floor as I am pulling it, and like the sort of link kind of sound as I am pulling it.
Okay. All right. So, as Cornelia comes back in, Kai just kind of takes a step backwards and to the side so that way he can see her coming in and he can look at the rest of you. And he says, "Are there any questions?"
Varg has a lot of questions, but doesn't care. You there? You are very strong to carry all them boxes. Would you like help with heavy boxes?
Thank you.
Yes, I like boxes.
Well, that's really sweet of you to ask and offer. I appreciate that.
Happy.
So I'm going to try to help lift stuff. And by lift, you know, when like you're doing all the major lifting and your friend has got like two pinkies on it and it's kind of just like I'm stabilizing. Very helpful.
Okay, so you are still standing there while I basically lift all of your stuff.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate it.
It's not that heavy. Varg has lifted heavier.
Wow, you're super strong.
Varg could show you muscles.
Yeah.
Maybe another time. Varg is wearing bag right now.
Oh, Varg, are you Asgardian?
Mercenary?
Oh no, I just meant like where you're from.
Ah, yes. Yeah, you know. Oh, I have not heard somebody say, Varg has not heard somebody say Asgard in the amount of time that Varg has been here.
Wow, that's really cool. I've never met anybody from Asgard. I hope that you can tell me more about it. I haven't had the opportunity yet. I've been planning on studying it more in depth, but I haven't had the chance to learn the language yet. But I've heard that if you pick up Corinthian, and it's sort of like that, kind of not, but I've heard that it's easier to do that. So I was planning on learning Corinthian first and then doing Asgardian. So maybe you can tell me about it sometime.
Adama's head is just turning.
There were a lot of words. Varg agrees.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
That's really neat.
So,
Corinthian. Like, oh, never mind.
Oh. Okay.
Varg introduces friends. Friend, Adama.
Hi,
And
Adama.
friend Kett. Kett is busy talking to your nice shoe friend. Varg likes the shoes on them. Varg would probably trade a glove for one shoe.
I like your shoes, Varg. You shouldn't trade your gloves.
Varg
or
wears
your
boots.
shoes.
They are very heavy boots, but thank
They
you.
seem very functional and very comfortable.
Made from seal pelt.
Wow.
Varg fought them. Seals are very strong in Asgard.
That's really cool. I've never seen a seal.
Varg will sketch one for you in the sand one day.
Thanks. I've also got a book, like a notebook. I could give you a pen and you could draw one.
Varg will think about it.
Okay.
Adama is just watching this like.
Good, solid cross-cultural interaction.
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent.
Okay. This is all that I think I need, and I guess we have stuff from the kitchen and stores and stuff that we'll get before we leave. But we can get those on the way out.
Varg will defer to Kett. Kett has information. Varg mostly just lists things and agrees a lot.
I'm assuming that my grandmother has like set up like travel supplies for us to take so that we are not out in the wilds without supplies.
Absolutely, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Some of you actually have like horses. I know Adama has a war horse.
What is your horse's name?
Oh,
Sorry, I feel the spot.
You can name a horse?
Oh,
What?
no. Yeah, the horse's name is Plum.
Plum.
That is a great
Varg
name.
loves Plum.
That is a great name because Cornelia, I think, also has a mule and a horse.
Mule and a horse, correct.
And the mule's name is Pickle. And the horse's name is Mustard.
Oh my word.
We have all animals named after foods in this group. carrot, plum, pickle, mustard.
This is amazing.
All right, it's been written. Thus it is.
So as for the rest of you, I'm not entirely certain if the two of you have horses.
Varg walks on foot. Varg has big feet. Varg can walk a lot. Varg has long
Kett
legs.
walks a lot as well.
Okay.
Sometimes I
so
outwalk cats. It's fine.
Kai,
Cat never notices.
Yeah.
I
And
think-
pickle can be used for a lot of like supplies stuff.
Pickle is mule.
Pickle is a mule. Pickle is
Mule.
a little bit of an asshole, but he is generally speaking okay. Sometimes he gets very stubborn, like a mule.
Ah.
Jokes. But Mustard is a sweet dumb baby, and will go wherever you want. He's easy.
Put a heart next to mustard.
Yes. Pickle bites.
Okay.
So with all of the supplies taken care of, Cornelia is gonna go into the parlor and kind of go down on her knees in front of her grandmother and take her hands and in Turanian say, Shada, I know you're not very happy with me, but I need to do this and travel the world, and Mom and Dad, Mom would have wanted me to go see the world like she did. And I promise you that nothing bad's gonna happen, and you'll see me really soon, okay?
all right. Her usual face, but you know that she was very touched by that. And her hand touches your hand just for like just a moment, and then recedes back into her sleeve. And she says, "You listen to them. You do what they say. None of your crazy adventures that you've built up in your head and told all of these stories to yourself.
Nope. Just to Argos, and I'll stay with Uncle Nikos for a little while, and then before you know it, I will be back on my way here."
She nods and says, "Safe travels, my child."
Bye, Jetta. And I'm gonna kiss her on each cheek, and then I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna go, "Bye, Kai," and I'm going to get all of the stuff I need, and I'm gonna take one last look at my Jetta, and I'm going to turn to leave.
Okay. All right. Kai is looking. He looks at Kett for a moment, and as Cornelia leaves, and it looks, you guys are, you're not like ushered out or anything like that, but it's very apparent. Actually, let's do this. I want everyone to roll society to know what exactly you should be doing at this moment.
Wow.
Rolling some manners, yo.
Yup.
Oh, but I got momentum,
Oh, there you go.
so if people need it.
Yes.
That succeeded.
Now, before you roll, now for this one, it's fine. The DC is going to be 1, and for those watching, the players can actually, the Game Master will set the difficulty. The base difficulty is always 1, unless you have like a talent or something that would reduce it. So, wow, Adama just kicked ass.
So this will be
Wow.
my first roll, and I'm not actually familiar with what buttons do I press to roll.
Oh,
in
sure,
this
no
game.
problem. All right, so first of all, looks like go ahead and those of you who've generated momentum, go ahead and we'll start with Cornelia. Go ahead and double click or you already do that.
I did.
Okay.
I will do it again if you
No,
tell
no,
me
no,
to,
no,
but
no,
I
no,
can't
no,
already say.
no.
Sure, why not?
No extra momentum. But Adama just made enough for everybody. So go ahead and
Wow.
add
Can I even
3
use
more
some
momentum
for
there.
this? Can I even use some momentum? for
You
this?
may, you may.
I don't think I have very good.
Right, and my next, actually, does everybody have, look at your character sheets, and how many fortune points do you have?
3.
3.
Kett has 3.
I
Okay,
have
so
2.
1, 2, 3. So that's 9, 10, 11. That means I get 11 doom to start.
I mean, I have 1.
I spent a fortune for something.
In character creation, you can spend a
For your
fortune
stats.
point to increase your stats or have one skill extra high.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yes, you have 5 momentum in the pool. So what you can do is for every point of you can spend up to 3 momentum to add dice to your pool. So Varg, what you're looking at for a personality check is it's a society roll, which is under personality, and then the society skill. And so you have a 6. That means on 20 sided you need a 6 or less.
Do I just click the 6?
Well, before you do, if you want to spend momentum for one, so each momentum you spend gives you an additional d20 in your hand. So go ahead and spend some of that nice momentum there. So just drag and drop the momentum chip onto the chat box.
Go onto the chat box. Let me move my character sheet. Oh no, I tabbed. All right, we're good.
There you go. So that added a point. You're spending a point of momentum. So you see those 2 little yellow dots with the 3 black dots afterwards.
Yep.
Click one of those black dots. We'll turn it yellow.
Perfect. That's how many dice I roll?
That'll be how many dice you roll. And so then what you're doing is you don't have to do anything else, but you see the little dice next to where it says society and it says 6. There's a little bitty dice there. Just double click that. There you go.
Wonderful. I did not succeed.
So
Oh no.
yes. So
Adama really tried to coach, bow like this, no, not like that.
right.
Varg's
So
like, I'm outie.
May-
Bye bye
Maybe,
now.
perhaps in Asgardian culture, the way you say goodbye to someone is to full on give them a shove.
right, like see you later, fool. Right.
Or you just take that wine bottle. You're like,
Yeah.
cheers, kiddos.
Yeah. So
Maybe
option.
maybe it's customary for you to take something from your host.
now here's the you're welcome to do any of those things.
Okay.
Now you did not roll what's called a complication, and
No, thankfully.
yes, and I know you know 2d20 system well enough to know what a complication is, but for the audience, complication is if you roll a 20, and what that means is not only do you fail, or you can even succeed and have a complication, but something wrong, you really do something wrong. In this case, you did not succeed, so you don't do what was culturally appropriate, but you didn't either insult her or something like that, because that would be a complication. But I can always throw
Can my multiple successes have helped her?
well, your multiple successes actually gave her the opportunity to roll more dice.
Oh.
So that's in a way that
That's how it
was
works in
helping.
this game.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I spent a point of doom.
No,
to-
I said no in the beginning.
I know,
Didn't you hear
but
that?
then to add a complication to it. So but you have no clue what you did. But you did something that it wasn't. It's a complication of 1. So it was a faux pas. It wasn't something that was full on my honor has been sullied. So now you must die. Nothing like that. Just something like you did something culturally that you have no clue what it was, but you see that Kai kind of bristles a little bit as you're walking out, and kind of like what the, but that's it.
Okay.
Varg worries that it was the compliments to his shoes. His shoes were really not that nice.
Maybe he really knew how I felt about his shoes.
Ah.
So, Eric,
Mhm.
is it possible to get a society roll to tell what faux pas it was? Is it possible to determine, or did I see it?
Yes, we can say that you scored high enough in success-wise that you generate. What you could say is, you scored high enough that you could spend one of those momentum that you generated for extra information or things like that. That'll work with things like observation, survival, any of your skills. If you succeed and then say, well, if I throw in a point of momentum, do I get a little bit more? That's how that works. So yeah, if you want to spend a point of momentum, you can, to know what was wrong.
This might also be a great second to be able to show everyone how kind of you can see that table on the DM screen in Fantasy Grounds
Right.
with the different actions and things you can do with momentum.
Right. So let me, as you are looking now, the players aren't able to see all of this because they don't have access to it all. But what I'm doing is I'm showing you that Fantasy Grounds has the GM screen, all 4 panels of the GM screen, and I can't remember which one it was, but I think it
cool.
was 2. But we'll see. Well, no, 2 has the summary of actions, so the things that you can do in a combat action. And then 3 maybe momentum spins. There you go. So a lot of times momentum is spent in combat, but in role play, they're just as important for information or whatnot. So Varg did something, and Adama, you saw it as Varg was leaving. It is customary in Tehran to whoever has the highest status, you are to face them, and you don't necessarily have to like bow or grovel or anything like that, but at least show respect, like, you know, a nod of respect, and then you turn and you would walk out. Now, she is not of nobility, so you don't have to back out. I mean, not nobility, but she's not royalty, so you don't have to back out. But a nod of respect, or just squaring your shoulders to show respect, and then turn to leave. Whereas Varg just went okay and walked off.
Varg walked out. Varg
so-
had no idea.
Right, exactly. The nuances of all these different cultural traditions and things like that it's completely lost on Varg, because in the North, you don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
None of that.
Yeah.
It's too cold for all of that.
Right, it's too cold for all that stuff. Exactly. All right, so as you're walking out, Kai kind of steps out with you and looks at Kett and says, I have arranged with your commanding officer to supply you, or we've also procured horses for you, for those of you who do not have them. That will be part of your pay. Your commander has agreed to allow you to keep them.
Oh, very good. Very good. That will come in handy. And speaking of pay,
he reaches into an inner pouch, and it's like this guy's clothes. I mean, other than the frilly kind of poofy shirt, he's got way too tight, like skinny jeans pants. But from somewhere he procures a small sack and he hands it to you. And he says, "This should cover your expenses to Argos, as well as cover your customary fee. Once you reach Argos, an agent of my grandmother is already in place to pay you upon your arrival."
the name of this agent?
Her name is Zana.
Zana.
And a word of caution: Zana is not to be trifled with. Unlike myself, who has a appreciation for those outside of my station, she does not.
Cornelia's maternal family are full of assholes.
As Kett takes the small pouch, I will assume this is what you call appreciation.
You're welcome.
She will be safe.
He nods. And then as you step out, he closes the door to continue with whatever he's doing with his grandmother. So now you're all standing outside and are welcome to do whatever you like.
As Kett steps away from the door, he kind of says, Adama, and waits for her to like kind of look up.
She moves over and stands beside him.
And he drops a pouch in your hand.
Yes.
Hold on to this. It's our payment.
All right.
And our expenses.
So
All right.
Don't spend it at the alehouse.
All right. I get the point.
It's for everybody.
Fine. You know I'll be fair.
I know.
So Adama, inside
Okay.
you can feel that there are small gems inside this, and it's like the size of a decent size like dice pouch. So not like not one that would fit just like a normal like one set of dice. We're talking like something for like a small collection of dice.
Not quite a Crown Royal bag.
Not quite one of the small Crown Royal bags.
Okay.
Like the minis that you can get.
Nice.
Not that I know anything about Crown Royal.
No.
But yeah, so you can feel them. They're individually. It feels like there's like small marbles in this, but you feel them clinking around, and you know that there's gems inside.
Okay. She'll find a safe place to tuck it away. She's fairly cognizant of thieves, so she will tuck it away from prying hands. Where have we been keeping the horse? Plum.
Very likely, it would have been at the stables at the barracks. So
Okay.
to come here, you would have probably walked Plum with you.
Okay.
Yeah. So there, and so then there's like a stable hand that just kind of, as you're walking out, you see them run off to the house stables and then come back with your horses.
Okay. Plum is a large, probably like roan type stallion, bit barrel-y, round, maybe even fat.
Yes.
Yes, which might be the plum part of the name.
Right.
But when Adama gets in the saddle, it's pretty clear that she lives there. This is what she is wholly comfortable with. And so as she gets on the horse, and I presume they're bringing up the other horses for everyone else,
Yes.
she kind of glances over a little bit worriedly at Cornelia and then at Varg and kind of has that moment of, we'll see how this goes.
Cornelia, Mustard is not like if you were thinking like a grand horse, Mustard
This
is
is no
not.
great hours.
Mustard is like just barely a horse and not a pony. Like he's not of a tall nature, which is fine because Cornelia is not of a particularly tall nature. So she is definitely, you can tell, comfortable in the saddle. Obviously not to your like extensive amount, but like she's ridden before. She hasn't done extensive day travel in a saddle, so her butt's probably going to be pretty sore here in a few days, but she's not awkward in it.
Gotcha. So Varg.
Varg does not ride horses. Varg walks a lot. Varg has very good boots. Varg's boots, they are very durable. Varg looks at horse. How big is horse?
Yeah. That's a big boy.
Yes. Both Varg's horse and Kett's horse are war horses. So they are steeds of battle. So they are big enough to have all of you, or have you on there with in full battle gear and everything.
Varg must get permission from horse before riding horse. Varg first tries to shake hands, but horse, they don't shake hands. Varg would like to try animal handling.
Okay. Oh, okay. To get the horse. Now this is also obviously a trained horse. So yeah, I'll say that because
He must be vibing though. Varg wants to vibe.
you want to vibe with the horse, sure, absolutely. So what we'll say is that we will have you roll animal handling, but before you do, change your DC, toggle it to 0 instead of 1.
Thank you.
And then, are you going to spend any momentum on this roll, or are you just going to roll the 2 dice that you get?
We only have 3. Well, what time is it? I'm gonna use a moment. Well, okay. Does our momentum refresh at the end of every session?
Yes, it goes away at the end of the session.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Use it.
Yep.
Cornelia is taking notes already about this fascinating Asgardian custom of handshaking with horses.
It's really awkward because Varg walks up to this. Does the horse have any armor?
It does not.
Okay, what is a war horse mean? I don't know horse. Is it just like a really big horse?
Like, maybe Clydesdale?
That would be a little
Like
bit big
stature?
but something. So it's like a riding
Break it
horse.
down in layman terms here. Big horse.
Yes,
Big
very
horse?
big
Big
enough.
horse.
Yes, big enough to carry a fully grown person in full armor and armored themselves. So yeah, very very big.
A buff
Big
baby.
heckin' horse.
A big heckin' horse.
Right.
A heckin' big boy.
Okay, so if it's a big heckin' horse and Varg is tall and like big, but I even imagine like I mean I've met like a few horses in my life and they all spooked me. So like trying to shake a horse's hand, you're just like trying to like put your hand on its chest level, and horse is just doing horse stuff. So Varg is like, well no, Varg must communicate on the horse level. So he kind of starts to like shake his head and neigh a little bit to ideally get the same reaction. So yeah.
Nice. You generate 4 momentum on that.
Wow.
Hey.
Wow.
So I'll say that if you want to spend for 1 momentum, you've completely vibed with this horse. For 2 momentum, the horse is smitten with you. In that, like for instance, if you're out in the open, the horse will normally a war horse is already trained for combat. You can actually use that horse in combat. This horse will actually like come to you and like if you're down, will cover you and things like that for
Okay,
2
it's the difference
momentum.
between a service dog, which is trained and like very prim and proper, to a dog that just like parties with you all the time.
Right.
Like they really love you with that extra bit of love.
Yeah.
I pull a celery stick out of my pocket, out of like my fur coat. Varg will call you celery. Shh, just don't tell anyone. And I'll feed the celery stick to celery.
All right. So you generated a total of 4 momentum. You spent 2 of those right away. So go ahead and add 2 momentum to the group pool. Okay.
Oops.
That's okay. We can just,
Okay.
I'll just drop one and there we go.
Thanks.
All right. So yeah. So your horses are there. You have them packed. And so now what are you going to do?
So, I would like us to get slightly outside of the villa,
Okay.
where ears that might get back to my Jada are no longer listening. And then I'm going to turn to Kett and say, okay, so first things first, do you know anything about Kal Shazma?
I've
Is that a
heard of it.
place?
I've heard of it. I don't know that I've been there myself.
But it's a place. It's not like a person.
It's not a person, no.
It's a place. Okay.
It's a place.
It's a place in Khorajan?
It's on the outskirts of Khorajan.
Okay, can we go there? And by go there, I'd like to go there, please.
We have been paid to take you to Argus.
Yes. Interesting story about that. When I told my grandmother that I wanted to go to Argos, what I meant by that was instead, I want to find what my parents were looking for. And she pulls out her necklace, and it is this large circular, it looks like at one point it was a disc, but it has been severely damaged. There's like a hole in it, and it's kind of roughed edge now, and it's got a howling wolf silhouette in the middle, and then several numbers and such around it in Roman numerals. And she is going to say, they were onto something. They were onto something, and I owe it to them to find it. And stupid Kai thinks that some guy from my parents' past might have had something to do with it, and he is at Kal Shazma. And I think my dad knew something about it too, because in his notebook he also wrote about it. Kett, I need you to help me. I need to find what my parents were looking for.
Kett stops his horse that he has named Horse.
Oh, wow. You are the most creative of the bunch.
If you were to ask Kett Kett named his horse because once you've had to eat one of them, you don't want to name them anymore.
Varg understands.
Good to know.
He stops horse, and you can visibly see his shoulders slump. He slumps in the saddle, and he doesn't respond right away.
Also, I have money. And out of one of her pouches, she's going to pull out all of the money that she has saved in the last 2.5 years. And she is going to say, eventually we can make our way to Argos and you guys can get paid what my grandmother promised you for your second part. But until then, I have additional funds for you guys. But Kett, I promise it'll be different this time. It's not going to be a large party. We won't be such a big target.
We can't. We can't do that again. We shouldn't do that.
I have to find out what happened to them.
Child, everyone died last time.
But they were onto something, and they died for a reason. I have to find out what that was.
There's a pause, and Kett kind of turns over his shoulder to Adama and Varg. Well, explain it to them.
Okay.
Varg waves at you.
Hi.
Welcome to horse riding.
Yeah. You're doing really well.
Varg likes
Natural.
celery. It's because I fed celery some celery. Varg is happy with that. So is
That's
celery.
really smart. That's really smart.
Cornelia, you look very worried. What is wrong?
So a couple of years ago, my parents are really. They were really. They were scholars. They were adventurers. They went out places and found relics and information and stories about all these other different cultures and past places, and then they would bring them back for the queen, and they would go in the museum where other people could learn about them. And that was my whole life. I was learning about those things and helping my parents while they were home. But they used to go out a lot and travel, and they never took me with them because I was too young. But a couple of years ago, they left, and Kett was with them as part of their protection. But they didn't come back. They were attacked by raiders, and well, Kett was the only other person who came back. But my parents left because they were onto something big about the lost city of Atlantis. And it's one of the biggest, most amazing things that's been lost in our world. And I owe it to my parents. They died trying to find it. And I just know that I need to find what they were looking for. And if I can help find this lost city, I can honor them and make sure, well, I can make sure that they didn't die for nothing. I got this necklace. Some strange man brought it to me a year or so after my parents died. And she'll show you guys the medallion.
That, I think, is going to be what definitely gets Varg's attention. I mean, like, he absolutely listened to everything and, like, was touched by the story, but it's the wolf icon that makes his eyes kind of widen. But Varg wants to know what this is.
I don't know. A man brought it to me. He wouldn't tell me his name. And he said that it was my papa's final wish that I should have this. And that it was important.
You know, it is Varg's destiny to follow a wolf. If you are the wolf that Varg must follow, then that is my destiny.
Oh, Oh, that's really cool.
Varg will go to this place you speak of, and Varg will protect you. Varg will follow the wolf.
Thank you.
Kett, you heard that. Varg is following.
Kett nods, but he hasn't lifted his head. He's not meeting anybody's gaze right now. His shoulders are still slumped. He's kind of got his horse turned away from everybody.
Understandably.
I think that I am. Sounds like an adventure. I'm on. I think I am okay with this. But, Kett, are you okay with this?
He breathes a deep sigh. I owe her this.
I'm really sorry, Kett. You know exactly where they were last.
I will take you there. I will take you all there.
Thank you. But I think first we need to go to Kalshasma. And I need to talk to a man named Cenobus.
I'd like to make a lore check as Kett
Okay.
to see if I've heard the name before.
Okay. I will say, let's say, Cenobus is. We'll go ahead and roll with difficulty 0.
Okay.
And you have 4 momentum in the pool if you wish to use any of it.
My lore's not great, so I'll use one.
Okay, there you go.
Use more than one.
Yeah.
I'll start with 1. We'll see where this goes.
Oh, you forgot to click the extra button there for the extra dice.
Oh, I did.
But you succeeded.
I succeeded anyway, so
Yep, there you go.
Hooray!
And generated a momentum.
hey, hooray.
Yeah.
Let's just add that.
So that goes back.
Nope.
Although you
There we
can
go.
spend, like I said before, you could always spend momentum to you know the name Cenobus, and you know that he is a Stygian. Very likely, the company that you work for has used him as like a scout before. If you want to spend more momentum, I can give you more information.
I'll spend 2 momentum for more information.
Interesting. Okay, so there's 1, there's 2. So the general knowledge is that Cenobus is a Stygian, that he had worked as almost like a free agent for your company at one point, and you know that he and
Mateo?
Yes. Mateo, which is Cornelia's dad, were actually quite close, not like personally, but professionally, and that he used some of his knowledge to, in like advanced scouting and things like that of areas that was supposedly, where Mateo was looking for. But the second point of momentum is you've never trusted Cenobus because one time you didn't really interact with him very much because a lot of the things he did with Mateo was like one-on-one or whatever. But you at one point saw the serpent's mark on his arm, and you know that he works for the Dark Ring of Sorcerers. Or at least that's one of the marks that the sorcerers of Kett or of Set in Stygia wear. Like they mark their agents with this brand, and he was wearing it. Now, whether it was old and he had broken away or whatnot, but stories say that the sorcerers of Stygia sometimes can see through their agents' eyes because they have done these rituals to them.
It's the dark mark.
Dark mark.
So when Cornelia mentions Cenobus, Kett kind of his gaze pops up and he kind of straightens in the saddle. What do you know of Cenobus?
Not a whole lot. I know that he and my papa and my mama used to be friends, or at least friendly. I met him when I was little. He gave me a little wooden horse, and I will rummage into my bag because I had heard this name before when I was packing, and I picked it out because I'm gonna use that shit, and I will show it to them. That's all I know. I just know that when I was like maybe 10, I'm not sure. Papa got into an argument with him, or something happened, and we stopped talking to him or associating.
He is not to be trusted.
Not to be trusted. Okay.
I saw him with your father. There are many things about followers of Set that are not to be spoken of in mixed company, but he bears a mark. Whether that means something or not, the mark, I never trusted him.
Gotcha. I'm assuming that with as high lore as Cornelia has and what she studied, she would know about Set and cultural stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
She can probably read off like the world religions paragraph about it, like textbook kind of thing. But
Well, and I feel like Kett would probably have, again, stories of Stygia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's probably your closest thing to like a lore person for Stygia.
Right. So much like how Varg is about to get like 3,000 questions about Asgard, you have answered all 3,000 questions about Stygia.
I've filled out the survey,
the questionnaire, yes.
The questionnaire for sure.
But she still doesn't have. It's very like theoretical. Kett is really the main Stygian that I know. Most Stygians should be like Kett because Kett is great. So very theoretical. So he's great to great to Cornelia. So she's going to make a note of that. Okay, not to be trusted. Doesn't quite fully internalize what that means, but good to know. Okay, so if you know him though, or you've met him, do you know? Does the word orchid mean anything to you? No? Okay. All right.
It's a flower, right?
Yeah, it is. It's she's just gonna rattle off a couple of facts about orchids that she knows because she's a fucking nerd. But anyway, and she's gonna pull out her dad's journal and just like, so my dad wrote about Khorajan and orchid, and I don't know if it's like, I don't know, a password, or we should go there and maybe it's like painted on a door or a table and it's got like information. I don't know, but I think we should go there first, and that might give us better information for when we set out. I don't know where this place is. So
Varg knows that Kett must lead the way. Varg doesn't travel well. Varg knows how to go south.
Just gonna wait with like her whole ass heart out in her hands. Like the biggest, saddest puppy dog eyes you've ever seen. So hopeful.
Kett looks at the rest of the group and kind of meets everybody's eyes. Okay, then to Khorajan.
Okay.
Adama, he kind of points over Adama's shoulder to kind of behind her. Ask that man there where Khorajan is, please.
Oh, do you not know where Khorajan is either? No one knows where this is.
Well, Kett knows it's on the outskirts of Khorajan, but he doesn't know where. I thought it'd be maybe fun for Adama to bully somebody into telling us the information. So that is the point. I'm sicking my
Okay.
young attack dog, attack warrior on some poor, unsuspecting townsperson that's walking by to harass them and get information from, or ask politely. It's really completely up to Adama.
Nice. So what am I looking at, Eric?
All you see is you see what appears to be it's just somebody with a hand cart just kind of walking by. It's like has apples on it, and then standing there next to the person that's with the apples, you see like a town guard looking bored and just kind of looking longingly at the apples as they go by.
She will lean down because she's riding horseback at this point, I assume. Flip a coin to the apple cart pusher.
Okay. Yeah, he's like a 15-year-old kid, so he just he's struggling with this like full thing of apples, and he's headed towards like the market square. And you flip him a coin, and he like lets go with one hand to catch the coin, and the apple cart just kind of tilts a little bit because of course it's got one wheel, and so he's like, and he like flip, and like drops the coin, and you see some of the apples fall down, and he reaches in like he was going to grab one off of the ground to give you, and then he just kind of thinks better of it, and then he reaches over and grabs a really nice looking one off the cart itself and holds it up to you and says, sorry about that, but thank you.
I think that's enough for two, actually.
All right, he kind of, as he's holding it up, he just kind of goes, ooh. And he kind of looks at his hand. He's got one hand on the cart, one hand holding an apple, and he just kind of looks back and forth between, like, is he going to let go of the cart, or is he going to...
She just grabs two apples.
Oh, okay. All right, so then he just kind of puts it back and then just, like, grabs the other handle and just starts to walk off in shame.
She's actually chuckling, and she looks over at the guard. What is the guard doing?
Yeah, one side of his face is up, and like he's like a little bit of a smirk as he saw that, but he's not. And he's watching what's going on. It's not like he's not like a like a guard at the Buckingham Palace or anything where he's just can't look anywhere. He's just kind of watching. He looks back at you and gives you a chin up and is like nice.
She tosses him one of the apples.
Okay, he catches it because he's got a spear in one hand and he has a buckler on the other arm, so it's not like he's holding the shield itself. So then he just kind of grabs it with his buckler arm and he kind of looks at you like, what's going on? And then initially he kind of catches it, looks at you like, what's going on? And then you see his head kind of turn side to side like he's waiting for somebody to come up and knife him in the back. And then he looks at you like, what was that all about?
Question. I'm looking for a place. Simply information.
Okay.
It's called Khorajan.
All right. His eyes kind of squint for a moment, and he kind of looks you up and down, and says, "I don't know if that's necessarily your kind of place." And then he kind of looks at you and again goes, "Or maybe it is." For that other apple, I'll tell you.
She shrugs. She tosses him the apple.
He catches it. He kind of puts, as you go to toss it to him, he kind of puts the one he has in his pocket, and then he reaches out and catches the other one, takes a bite.
You drive a hard bargain.
He says, yeah, call Shazma, sure. He points down the road and he says, take this road. It's about 5 miles outside of town. Once you reach the 5th milestone, there's a small road that goes towards the pond. It's an inn that services travelers, if you know what I mean.
So, question then, perhaps for 2 apples, you can explain why you think I would not be in such an establishment.
All right. He looks at you, then he looks at your friends, and he says, and then he looks like right at Cornelia, and he says, well, some of you would probably do okay there, but I wouldn't take your little sister.
We'll keep her safe. Don't worry.
chill about this at all. She's like very interested. Like,
It's kind of a rough place. It's the city watch and basically any of the house guards are expressly forbidden to even go there to visit because it's got a bad reputation.
they'll be serviced.
Like
There's
food and ale? Varg likes food.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes,
Excellent.
food and ale. Yes. Yep.
Interesting.
So, what else is happening there? I think there is something you are not telling me.
All right. He kind of looks at you for a moment. And how about let's do a persuade check?
Ooh. Persuade him with the
Do I
apples.
have this?
Yes, you do.
Oh, hey, I do.
Do you want to put any momentum into it? Looks like we have
I
2 in the
will.
pool.
Do it.
Yeah.
I'll throw in a
Last roll of the
memento.
night.
Okay, so make sure
Yeah.
you click your yellow button.
Is
there.
it DC 1?
It'll be DC 1. And make
Okay.
sure you have 3 dots lit for number of dice.
And then persuade?
And then double click your persuade. There you go. And you got a 1, which is odd, counts because you have focus in persuade of 1. That counts as 2 successes.
Yeah.
So you ended up. Your target was 11. You ended up with 4 successes on 3 dice.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you want to spend 1 or 2 of those momentum, you can get a little bit extra information on this one.
I will. Give me all the information. I smile charmingly.
Okay. So you're persuading. All right. He looks at you for a moment and he just kind of looks around and he says, okay, well, we're not exactly supposed to go there, but a few of us do. It's not my kind of thing, of course, but they do have, a lot of times they'll have entertainers and things like that. But, mostly when he just kind of looks around and he says, mostly people just go there for the Lotus.
Lotus.
I understand.
He says, and he leans forward and he says, if that's your thing, hey, I'm not judging, right? But he says, the guy who runs the place is named Agazi. And when you get there, if that's your thing, if you want the good stuff, just make sure you tell him Orchid. And that's where
Father was a drug user!
and that is where we will end tonight's session. So, yes, our episodes will run approximately 2 hours, so that's where we're going to be. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. Our next episode will be April 28th, same time, so we're 9 p.m. Eastern time. Please follow and subscribe because we will not. In addition to this, this channel also does talk shows and other actual plays, and we are also going to do other Modiphius Entertainment games that are featured on Fantasy Grounds, and so there's going to be plenty of content, so make sure you subscribe. All right, everybody, and players, thank you so much for playing, and we will see you all next time.